I stand for people's natural ability to heal themselves. When you look out there and you see so many chronic illnesses like diabetes, cancers, mental illnesses, it is incredible, but people can heal themselves before their illness becomes chronic. Let's take the case of diabetes type 2. It is more than proven and demonstrated that diabetes type 2 is a lifestyle illness. So what does that mean? It means that people are eating too much sugar, too many carbs, and their bodies are simply not being able to process it, basically. People are putting too much pressure on their pancreas. Eventually, the pancreas messes up the perfect mechanism that they have to produce insulin and deal and process the sugar that's ingested. That's basically it. And it's so easy to fix. But what happens? People attach to their lifestyle, and then when things get really bad, they go to the doctor. And sometimes there's nothing the doctor can do except chop their limb and give them insulin injections and remind them that it's a lifestyle choice that led to that. And all of this can be prevented. And I know that not too long in the future, this is going to be prevented. And it's not going to be by any technology or any medical genius invention, but by our own genius to discover, to reconnect to the ability that we have to heal ourselves. Now, some of you are going to ask, and what happens to our lovely doctors if you no longer get sick and you don't need to see a doctor? Well, I will tell you what, doctors are already too busy, far too busy. If, for instance, in the USA, the statistics is that 41% of the population is obese. There aren't enough doctors to assist all those people. Simply, there aren't. Now, if you become healthy, you are doing the doctors a favor, because the ones who are active on the workforce will not have to work 16 hours a day to look after you because of your lifestyle, because you became unwell and sick because of your lifestyle. Now, let's imagine that we get to that utopia time when there is no more illnesses whatsoever. Wouldn't it be wonderful? And I believe that it will happen eventually. And what do we do? Would we do with the doctors? Well, they will continue to exist, because if that happens, it happens because we most likely had a huge medical workforce doing prevention. So can you imagine, especially if you live in the Wellington area, people will knock on your door and say, well, this is the Newtown medical team. We made an appointment to see your family to do prevention in all of the organs and systems of your body. And they would come in a bunch of people from general medicine to physiotherapy to sports experts, lifestyle experts, dietitians. I imagine one day this is going to happen, and there will be people knocking on our doors or making themselves available to us so that we can continue with the good work of never getting sick, because sickness costs too much. It is not only financially too much. When you become ill, you have no idea possibly you have no idea of how much that affects the rest of the people you live with. It affects your workmates because you change your mood. You may not turn up to work. And it affects your family members because they are going to think, what is happening? How can I help? Is this person going to recover? Is it my fault that this happened? Those are things that keep influence people's thinking when someone is less than healthy. Obviously, with a chronic illness, once they are diagnosed, I met a man, and this man had diabetes, and he ran a business. He was a genius. I thought he was a genius. He had no education, but he had so much knowledge that he taught the experts in his area, and it was a business in the area of transport. This man was diagnosed with diabetes, and then he obviously had to take time off work because nothing was working for him anymore. His mood changed. His employees couldn't cope with him. And he got into trouble with customers, and people took him to court, and all that on the account of him having diabetes that was unmanaged. So eventually, he went to see a doctor and had everything under control, but it took quite a few months of drama of having to get someone else to look after his business. So because I knew him personally, I nearly begged to him to fast because at least he wouldn't be eating as much sugar as he did if he chose to fast, and his blood glucose levels wouldn't be so high. So I said to him, "Now, would you like to spend 24 hours fasting with me? I'm sure you're not going to die. And if your blood glucose levels drop significantly, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but I have enough knowledge to look after you. I'm not going to let anything happen. Just 24 hours, no food, just water." And he turned to me and said, "No, I can't. I can't go without my coffee with a spoon of sugar." And I'm thinking, you might go without your legs and without your arms because that's on the cards if you have untreated diabetes. So he managed to look after himself with the assistance of a doctor. But can you imagine if he, could do everything he could to prevent that from happening in the first place? How many thousands of hours he would have saved, how much money he would have saved driving to the doctors, because here in New Zealand it's basically free to go to the doctor, or you pay a consultation fee. But as far as I know, hospital treatment is free for everyone. And in the effort, in the suffering that he put his family through, his sisters, his elderly parents. So these are things that we need to think about. And to start healing ourselves, we need to start thinking of what are we doing to prevent our bodies to stressing because of lifestyle issues. Like if we know that eating a lot of sugar, it puts a pressure on the pancreas. Why do we eat sugar? We can cut it down. Now, don't be silly. Like I say to my friends, don't be silly and put sweetener in your coffee or a drink. Why? Because if sugar is hard on your pancreas, the sweetener is going to attack your liver. So obviously, if you do things in moderation, it's okay. But the people who have chronic illnesses, they got there because there was no moderation. People who live a life with moderation, they don't become obese, they don't develop diabetes. Maybe they develop some cancers as a result of genetics, but that cancer can be postponed until late in life. I knew people who had It was kind of, the family said it was a curse because everyone had one type of cancer in their families. But then this particular member of the family went to live somewhere else because they wanted freedom. They lived in a tent, and they didn't have the commitment to go to work. They had enough money to live on, but they also couldn't be bothered cooking. So breakfast it was at McDonald's, lunch it was at Burger King's, and dinner was KFC almost every night. And you ask them, this person, how much fruit did you eat today? Oh, I didn't feel like. I was full enough. And I'm thinking, don't you understand that you need to eat things that are natural, not that load of food processed with a lot of sugar and fat? Well, eventually this person developed cancer. And then it was too late to regret. And obviously that person died 4 years later. So, and obviously the rest of the family have, the same predisposition for cancer, but they didn't have that lifestyle and they didn't develop it. And they know that they have to look after themselves to prevent, to prolong cancer if it is to happen in their lives. So think about that. And I would really, really love if we could all look after ourselves, because in the first place, you would feel much better. Imagine you are no longer obese, you can sleep without snoring, and you have more energy to do lots of things, to create memories. So, and the second reason is that you are going to take the pressure out of the health system. Health systems are breaking all over the world because of chronic illness. So it's time that we did our part. It is time that we parted with foods that induce us to eat more and more and more because they have too much sugar and too much salt. So it's like people call it addiction. It's not addiction, it's a habit that we develop because it feels good. And obviously, naturally, everything that feels good, we tend to repeat. It's our subconscious mind telling us, just go for it, especially with food, because the subconscious mind, in the primitive part of the brain, manage eating. And when we find something to eat that we like, it allows us to eat more and more and more. And obviously, the processed food manufacturers know that. So they load it with sugar, they load it with salt, so that we keep eating. And the ability to feel full goes out of the window. And that's one of the major causes of chronic illness. And I would really love to see people looking after themselves, people giving the doctors a break so that they don't have to work 16 hours a day, because we don't have enough doctors in any country to look after people, as far as I know. So, and even if you are not interested in anybody else, do a favor to yourself, because we are living longer, but we're living longer with the burden of disease, dementia, cancers, obesity. So we want to live longer with great health. And this is what I stand for, and I would love to hear your comments. I would love you to share your ideas. And I like people who disagree with me, because that makes me think and consider all other perspectives. Okay, so that's it. Have a lovely time.